Hi, I'm Fatima Ali, and today we're going to try to figure out what the message of the Occupy Wall Street is. Many of you have probably heard of the Occupy Wall Street protest somewhere in the media, whether it be in mainstream media or independent media. The Occupy Wall Street protests began as a small demonstration with merely 200 protesters and in weeks has turned into a nationwide movement. What is this movement? What's their message? Jonathan Perriente, a fellow reporter, decided to go to Zuccotti Park and speak to the protesters firsthand, and he asked the protesters what they want.
When you look at this, a lot of people are saying that this protest doesn't have a definite message.
It doesn't. It has a message.
What do you think it is?
I would tell you that it has a message of collective thoughts, that everybody is allowed to come together and share their ideals on what is happening. Now, as far as organization skills, you do have a good point there. It is not too organized.
It's hard to say. I mean, I know they've set up a declaration. They've put out a lot of demands, but as far as the general message that's really being sent out, it's along the lines that the system really has failed.
Extreme disparity in wealth, income, and political power and opportunity. Greater taxation, more progressive taxation of the wealthy, greater regulatory control of corporations, environmental control, worker safety control.
Herman Cain made an interesting point at the GOP presidential debate in Las Vegas. He asked why the Occupy Wall Street protesters aren't protesting in front of the White House, because that's where the legislations are made. So he concluded his statement by saying, do the protesters want the people from Wall Street to come down and give them checks?
Well, I think Herman Cain represents the political views of the 1%, if you will. So therefore that Wall Street and the federal government, as that setup is now, is one and the same. So that I think that Mr. Cain, when he states that the Wall Street protesters should go to Washington, and they do have their own Occupy Washington D.C. movement there as well, is just a way of trying to get political gain by focusing attention on Obama and his policies.
I was reading an article in a magazine about the progressiveness of the Occupy Wall Street movement, and the writer asked why the protesters aren't encouraging recruiters to come, and why they're not holding seminars but instead are just laying around in tents and marching. Right.
Well, I think that whoever wrote that article is taking the perspective of the 1%. The reason why this movement, has started is because there's a tremendous lack of jobs, you see. So just to kind of come off and say like, oh, well, why don't you just, come down, recruiters come down, and then, job training and things of this nature. This is what's been going on for the past 10 years. In other words, if you look at the enrollment rates for most community colleges and colleges, they've been skyrocketing for the last 10 years. People have been going back, getting training, getting all sorts of, new types of skills. But once again, there's no jobs out there.
In one word, how would you describe this protest? In one word.
Inspiring.
Reparations.
Hope.
Complicated.
Solidarity.
Monumental.
Inspiring.
Hopeful.
Necessary.
Respectful.
Charging!
It's anti-Wall Street, greed.